So my wife here is poorly educated and ignorant. Everyone, please take it easy on her.
The guy who's supposed to be my husband straight up announced a shocker at our wedding, like it was no big deal. Yeah, he was talking about me when he said, poorly educated and ignorant. At that moment, it finally hit me that he had been looking down on me this whole time. Seriously? Should I marry a guy like this? Can I become a family with someone who belittles me? I was in turmoil, and then my dad simply uttered,
Let's go home.
My name's Matilda Nicholson, 28 years old. I lived in Japan when I was a kid because of my dad's job, but I came back to the States when I turned 18. I studied business management at an online university. After receiving my BBA, I landed a job in a regular company and just led a pretty ordinary work life. But now, an average Jane like me is gearing up for a wedding next month. I met Damian a year ago. We'd run into each other a few times at a bar I frequented. Then one day, he came up to me. I'd never really been in a relationship before, so his approach kinda threw me off. He was persistent in getting to know me, and his enthusiasm won me over in the end. I said yes when he asked me to be his girl. He was always so eager to hear about my life growing up in Japan. He was shocked when he found out about my educational background at the beginning of our relationship.
So you finished compulsory education and then studied online afterward?
Yeah, that's right. It let me study whenever and wherever I wanted, so it worked out great for me.
Wow, it's so different from mine. Being overseas for that long is impressive enough.
Haha, you're silly. Well, I can speak Japanese pretty fluently at least.
Having a bilingual girlfriend is something to boast about. You should totally come meet my family sometime.
Really? I'd love to. Our relationship moved fast. And after half a year of dating, he popped the question. Considering my age and all, I was already thinking about marriage, so I happily accepted his proposal. About a month after the proposal, I headed to meet Damian's family to give them the heads up about the engagement. Meeting the family of the person I love for the first time, I was really looking forward to it. But as soon as I arrived, something felt off. It's so nice to meet you all. When I introduced myself, his parents just grinned at me. Then, his sister Lindsay started talking to me in a mocking manner. So, Matilda, right? You spent most of your childhood in Japan, I heard. Yes. I came back when I was 18. Wow, that's so cool. So, like, do you eat a lot of sushi? No, not really. My family and I still prefer Western food. Pfft, yeah, right. You grew up in the Far East. Are you trying to suck up to us by saying that stuff? No way, I don't mean like that at all. I really do prefer Western food. Before I could finish, she cut me off and glared at me in a totally different manner than moments ago. Listen, we've had a pretty decent upbringing, both me and Damian. If he chose you, well, I guess we gotta deal with it. But don't get too ahead of yourself. What do you mean by getting ahead of myself? It means you better watch yourself and act right. Got it? You might think you're worldly or something, but if you're gonna marry him, you better be prepared to fit in. I was dumbfounded by her statement and couldn't find anything to say back. I turned to Damian for help, but he was just glued to his phone, completely oblivious. Why won't he say something to his sister? It feels like I'm being ridiculed. I didn't come here to be treated like this. After that, Lindsay kept on making fun of me, and I couldn't warm up to his parents either. I left their place feeling really down. On the car ride back, I straight up told Damian, who was whistling to a song, how I felt. "Hey, hon, about what happened earlier, why didn't you intervene?"
What are you talking about?
"Talking about your family just now. Lindsay was making fun of me, you know? And your parents just laughed along and didn't say anything."
Oh, that? She wasn't making fun of you at all.
But they weren't welcoming by any stretch of imagination.
You're overthinking, babe. They just find it interesting that you have a different background. That's all.
Are you sure?
Yeah, totally. Don't think too much about it.
He gave me a wink. I returned a bitter smile as I couldn't shake off an uneasy feeling. I wondered, just because my background was rare, did that justify speaking condescendingly? Was it normal for Americans to act like that? I pictured they'd be friendlier. Despite feeling disturbed, I didn't want to speak ill of my future in-laws. I tried to brush it off by telling myself that's just the way things are, and put a lid on it. From then on, I was invited by Damian to visit his family a few times a month. At first, I wasn't too thrilled about it, but I figured if it helped me bond with them, I might as well go along with it. But let me tell you, bonding didn't come easy. Every time I saw them, I got the cold shoulder from all of them. That day was no different. His mom dropped a gem as soon as I arrived. "Let me guess, Matilda. You didn't bring anything again today, huh?" Sorry, Anita. I was gonna stop by a shop on the way here, but Damian said we didn't need to." "Excuse me? Blaming him now? You're something else. That's just plain rude." "But..." "Don't you butt me. Always talking back. I feel for your parents." "I'm sorry." No matter what I said, she just kept laying it on thick. Then, Lindsay, with a smirk on her face, chimed in. "You really have no clue, huh? Couldn't even bring a drink? I guess you didn't learn any manners in Japan." "But I always try to bring something." "Oh, are you talking back to me? Or what? Do you enjoy pointing a finger at Damian?" "I'm sorry. I'll make sure to prepare something next time." "Isn't it obvious? You gotta get it right without even being told." "If you're gonna marry Damian and be part of the family, at least do this much, you know?" "Right." She piled on, making it seem like everything was my fault. Even in a situation like that, Damian didn't stand up for me. He just sat there, glued to his phone, while I was getting an earful. His dad, too, just watched without saying a word. There was no one to back me up during the whole ordeal. Stress kept piling up, and I was nearing my breaking point. But between wedding preparations and everything else, I didn't have the time to sit down and talk things out with Damian. I knew I couldn't let things continue like that, so I finally opened up to him again. "Hey, honey, sorry to bother you when you're tired. I need to talk about something concerning your family." As he walked in from work, I decided to lay it all out.
My family? Is it about Mom and my sister again?
"Yeah, I just don't know if I can handle your family after we get married."
You're bringing this up again? I keep telling you, you're overthinking.
As he insisted on me overthinking, an indescribable frustration welled up inside me. I finally let out the anger I'd been holding back for so long. "Why do you keep saying that? How am I overthinking? It's because their behaviors are so awful that I can't help but be bothered, you know? That's why I'm talking to you about it."
Hey, what's gotten into you all of a sudden? Chill out.
Are you kidding me? I've been putting up with them for so long, but I've reached my limit. If they keep treating me like that, I don't want to go to their place anymore.
Come on, hon. They don't mean it like that. You're misunderstanding.
Misunderstanding? He started explaining with a look of annoyance on his face as I asked,
Listen, my mom and Lindsay are just trying to educate you to be a good wife for me.
Educate me? Why do I have to be educated just because we're getting married?
Ugh. You're really clueless, huh? They're saying those things for your own good. They want you and me to build a good marriage when we finally tie the knot. That's all.
Is that so? Then why do they talk to me like that?
Maybe being raised in a different culture, you might not understand, but this is normal. When you care about someone a lot, sometimes your tone gets a little harsh, you know? So don't worry so much.
With that, he smiled at me. I couldn't fully accept it right away, but after thinking it over for a night, I started to think maybe that's just how things are. In Japan, I heard the relationship between in-laws was pretty clear-cut. Maybe it was similar in the States, and I just didn't know about it. If that was the case, then I was wrong for considering ending the marriage over this. So I changed my mindset and started facing his mom and Lindsay sincerely. I listened to whatever they said without arguing, and tried my best to earn recognition from Damian and his family. And then comes the wedding day. I'm wearing the wedding dress I'd always dreamed of, with a delicate tiara atop my head. My mom, tears welling up, hugged me tight. You're so beautiful. The ceremony goes beautifully, and soon we transition to the reception. With lots of entertainment and speeches from friends and family, the venue is filled with a mood of celebration. When my turn for speech comes, I read out a heartfelt thank you letter to my parents, and the hall is filled with emotion. Then, finally, Damian's speech begins. Since it's something he has prepared on his own, I have no idea what he's about to say. We're standing at the head table, and our parents are sitting nearby watching us. Slowly, he begins his speech.
Everyone, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here for us today. We're truly grateful for all the warm wishes we've received from everyone.
Here, he takes a moment and looks around the hall, which erupts into applause. The formalities continue a little longer, and the speech begins to wrap up. But then, the most unbelievable words come out of his mouth right at this moment.
So my wife here is poorly educated and ignorant. Everyone, please take it easy on her.
I doubt my ears for a second. Did he just say I'm poorly educated and ignorant? The shock seems to hit everyone as well, as they all look stunned. Despite the reactions around him, he continues obliviously.
You know, she grew up in the Far East, so she's got no common sense at all. Because of that, she hasn't been getting along with my family too well. It's been of a struggle, haha. But thanks to my mom and sister, she's been getting better lately. So I'm thinking of leaving her education up to them now, haha.
At this moment, something inside me blows up. Unbelievable. To say such things so casually on an occasion like this? Poorly educated and ignorant? Why does he tell such a lie? It isn't just his family. He's been mocking me too about me being raised overseas after all. I'm filled with anger, but at the same time, tears of frustration are welling up. If I speak now, I'll definitely start crying. All I can do is bite down my lip hard to hold back the tears. I look down and try my best to hide my expression, struggling not to cry. Then, someone taps me on the shoulder. When I look up, my dad's smiling next to me. Seeing my confusion, he speaks clearly.
Matilda, do you still want to go through with this marriage?
But Dad...
Give me an answer. Do you want to marry a guy who belittles you like this? Will that make you happy?
Damian looks puzzled at the exchange between us. Eventually, he squeezes in between us, giving me a stern glare.
Let me make this clear. I'm the only one willing to marry a low-educated high school dropout like you. You better be thankful.
What do you mean by low-educated?
Come on, you barely finished high school, didn't you? That's why my family's making fun of you.
Then everything clicks. He's been completely mistaken. As I'm speechless, he mutters under his breath.
Let's just finish this reception quickly.
I firmly reply to this moron. Actually, I can't do this. I can't marry you.
What? You, with your low education and ignorance, think you can just bail on me?
I'm not low educated. I graduated from high school and college. His expression freezes upon hearing this. To correct his misunderstanding, I explain from scratch. I did mention that Japanese compulsory education is up until 9th grade. But I also mentioned that I was put in an international school and followed the American education system, right? I moved back here after graduating high school and then enrolled at an online university. I have a bachelor's degree.
Wait, online learning was to get a GED, right?
What are you talking about in this day and age? There are so many choices of online universities nowadays. But seriously? I never imagined you were this clueless. Your head's so far up in the clouds, I can't believe you thought you could make fun of me.
Ugh.
He scrunches up his face and goes silent, seeming really stung by the comeback. My dad, watching the scene, let out a sigh of disgust.
Geez, what an idiot.
Sorry, Dad, but thanks.
All right, let's go home.
Yeah. As we head toward the exit, Damian calls out from behind.
Hold on.
He's red-faced and panting, hurling insults at us.
Don't you dare. I won't allow you to just call off the wedding now.
You're kidding, right? Who do you think is responsible for this mess?
It's your fault for not explaining properly. You're accountable, you trash.
Even in a situation like this, not understanding his own position, this marriage is indeed doomed. Exchanging bewildered looks with my parents, I turn to face him. Cut it out. How much shame do you need to bring upon yourself? Judging my education wrongly and mocking me? I can't possibly be family with people like you. I don't deserve to be called ignorant by people who can't even understand such a simple thing.
What the?
Listen carefully to what I say. I'm not a person that you can make fun of. You and your family who look down on others and gang up to harass people are pathetic. Keep degrading yourselves for all I care. Never show your faces in front of me again. As I scold him, he slumps in defeat. Ignoring him, we head out of the venue without looking back. Later on, I heard that the wedding hall was in chaos after we left. Damian and his family were booed by everyone and fled the scene. That isn't all. Many of his colleagues and childhood friends were also there. Rumors about him being the lowest guy who insulted his fiancé has spread at his workplace, and his reputation has taken a nosedive. As a result, he can't handle the hostile environment and has been skipping work. His family also found themselves isolated, with relatives and friends keeping their distance. The rumor has spread in the small town, so they're whispered about and given dirty looks whenever they're out in public. Especially his mother and sister, who are now self-conscious and can't walk around freely like they used to. Of course, I don't feel sorry for them. It's all their own doing. While the marriage is annulled, I don't regret it at all. If anything, I wish I had seen his true colors sooner. Maybe things would have been different. But for now, I'm glad that my reputation hasn't been tarnished. I'm grateful to my dad for encouraging me to leave the wedding. I hope to be able to judge people better and not disappoint my parents from now on.